Hey folks, Russ Scala here from the Russ Scala YouTube channel and Scala Precision Health. We're in Winter Park, Florida today. And I want to say hats off to all the people out there involved in the ketogenic movement. These are really exciting times. It reminds me of Blockbuster Video that was trading on the stock exchange with 5,000 locations all over the US. And smartest guys in the room never saw Netflix coming, and now Blockbuster is gone. Blockbuster Video reminds me of traditional medicine, and all of us here trying to change the system reminds me of we're basically like Netflix. You know, we are the paradigm shift, and all of us collectively are helping shift not only businesses but the way doctors think about treating patients, and this is an exciting time. I started. I'll give you a little overview on what's trending right now. On a super high level, my team, we do high level interventions. One example is a teenager in my hometown had a stroke. He ended up with locked-in syndrome, went to one of the major stroke institutions in the United States, and when he came home, we did some advanced testing on him on a cellular level, and we found out, one of the things we found out, which you find interesting, from a stroke and a cognitive decline dementia standpoint, is with stroke patients, what they were putting in his feeding tube at the stroke center was too high in maltodextrin, and we detected brain inflammation. So we moved to a more ketogenic solution inside the feeding tube. So, you know, in essence, when he had the more ketogenic solution, the mitochondria on a cellular level in the brain was functioning, you know, a lot better while he was going through rehab. And we also, you know, when a stroke patient goes through rehab, we want to protect, you know, and slow the process of muscle wasting, stimulate neurogenesis, things of this nature. And I work with some of the leading neurologists in the U.S. that they actually came and sat with me when we were developing some of these brain rehab programs. And, you know, I'm basically a nobody in the neurology field, but I had some ideas about putting something together. And I did the advanced testing. Now I have a huge research lab in pharmacy that does all my testing with my group, and we sort of arrange the puzzle pieces together. So I see the ketogenic diet being part of a disease-specific treatment protocol for diabetes, heart disease, dementia, and obesity. I mean, they all have inflammation in common and elevated insulin. Traditional medicine compartmentalizes these diseases, and they have one pill, one monotherapy, i.e. insulin for diabetes, low cholesterol drug for heart disease, when nobody's focusing on inflammation and elevated insulin levels. So I see savvy individual entrepreneurial physicians or centers will jump on this in a preventative way. Now let me go back a little bit so you understand my history and why I'm so passionate about this. In high school, I worked in the emergency room. I was fascinated with saving lives and that kinetic environment. I got a real good understanding of the physiology early on, you know, in my teens, and I ended up becoming one of the first paramedics to hit the streets and save lives. I also was attached to the SWAT team, so I got for like 4 years, so I got an early idea how physical, mental, and emotional stress damages your body. And we were big carb eaters back then. I mean, everybody was medicating themselves, me, the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, the police officers. You know, it's no joke. Carbohydrates are poor man's Prozac for people that are out on the tip of the spear. Well, I knew that I needed to change because I was dealing with some post-traumatic stress. You know, things didn't bother me, and then all of a sudden they started bothering me. My brain wasn't functioning on scenes. I started hearing people screaming. I was a lieutenant in charge of 25 people, and I'm like, you know, I had nowhere to turn, so I would drink more. Well, what happened to me was I ended up partnering with a group of triathletes. Actually shifted my community. And whether you're a beginning keto person or you're somebody that's starting a diet, your community is so important in your success. You know, I always say, show me your 3 friends and I'll show you your health. So I shifted my community over to a bunch of triathletes. Obviously, I started training, and that was a keystone behavior for me. I moved away from the cops and the paramedics and all that trauma. I moved over to a group of triathletes, which were very high carbs in the 80s. I was following Dr. Noakes' book, The Lure of Running. It was about 700 pages, and he even preached high carbs back then. So I started racing around the country. I got out in the sun. I was training every morning, but what I didn't realize was all that training and all those carbohydrates elevating my hemoglobin A1C, elevating my insulin levels. I started to put weight on as a triathlete, and I couldn't wrap my head around that. I'm like, I'm riding my bike 400 miles a week, 100-mile bike ride on Sunday, and I'm gaining body fat, so I'm scratching my head. So in 1996, we switched to the ketogenic diet. I was training with a bunch of triathletes. I started doing research. I would go to the marathons, and I noticed the people coming across the finish line that were heavy. And I'm like, holy mackerel. And then, because I was a paramedic, I was noticing a lot of endurance athletes were having heart attacks. They were having stents put in and bypass surgery. So back then, I started the Institute of Nutritional Medicine and Cardiovascular Research, and I was documenting very fit athletes, tan, low resting heart rate, that had stents and bypass surgery. I'm like, where is this coming from? Well, now we know inflammation, elevated homocysteine levels were damaging the endothelial lining. And I would sit down to cardiologists with this great information. I'd say, look what I found. I think we should do some on this. And they would, slam the door in the face, call me crazy. But that's okay. This is the reason why I started the Russ Scala YouTube channel, because taking a page out of Eric Topol's book today, The Patient Will See You Now. This is what's so exciting to me. Eric Topol from the Cleveland Clinic wrote a book called The Patient Will See You Now. In about 400 pages, he wrote, people will form communities, they will run their own lab work, and they will start to heal themselves all without a doctor involved. Sound familiar? It's what we're all doing right now. People are not going to wait to get answers. People are going to form their communities, run their own lab work, and do exactly what you're doing on this Facebook page. You're forming communities, and you're lowering your insulin level, you're dropping weight. People that are getting answers right now here, they would never get it from their doctor. Trust me, I've trained over 600 physicians in advanced nutritional and hormonal replacement therapy when I was director of research for Signature Pharmacy in 2004. I know what the doctors know. I don't shoot physicians down, but I know what they know. I know what's in their head. I know the screens that drop in their head, and they almost have to go through retraining. When I sat with Ira Goodman, who was one of the leading neurologists in Orlando that is in charge of Compass Research Center, when I showed him what the ketogenic diet does on a cellular level inside the brain, I was ready to take notes from him. Wonderful guy, like Luke Skywalker. I had Yoda next to me, and he just said that, listen, since fMRIs are available now, we could look inside the brain in real time. He goes, Russ, we all got to go through retraining. I'm like, oh man. So he was honest, and again, this is no different than throwing the Hubble telescope up into space. It changed the way astrophysicists think about the rings around Jupiter, and all of a sudden they don't get their grant money anymore. So what I'm excited about is that when pharmaceutical companies are looking for that next new drug, that next new monotherapy, we know here that you've got to treat systems. And the systems of the body, using the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, correcting hormonal levels, understanding the intestinal tract is the second brain. Us treating systems is going to fast forward somebody to wellness really quickly. And also those keto coaches, those people out there that are taking care of a bunch, like the Dan, the bacon guy. I'm in contact with him a lot. I love this guy. He's got all these people. He's changing their lives, helping them lose weight, changing their lab work. Here's one guy with passion trying to educate people. I think we're going to see thousands of people now being involved in the ketogenic movement, training people on intermittent fasting. We're going to see small community centers starting to preach this, because there's not going to be any more icon intimidation like you walk into a doctor's office like the baby boomers used to do and think, the world rose and set on these guys. They don't have the education. When you put somebody on a cholesterol-lowering drug and you lower the important fats in their body, you damage their brain and their heart. That information is out there. There's a lot of people talking about this. I went from watching people go into nursing homes, taking people into nursing homes and watching them deteriorate, to fast forward 25 years, I was going in anti-aging centers from Boca Raton to Beverly Hills, watching what the hormonal replacement therapy is doing, and people watching their bodies still resonate. I mean, these people were still in the game at 80, 90, and 100. So, what could we glean from that? Muscle mass is very important. Muscle mass is a reservoir for fuel. So doing resistance training, the ketogenic diet will maintain your muscle mass. That's really important to keep your ass off a bedpan, right? I don't like to see people deteriorate as they age. I started my one muscle wasting program, and I put it on the Russ Scala YouTube channel after I was sitting eating dinner, and I watched this guy come by me in a walker. And he took him 5 minutes to walk by me. I'm like, holy shit, how come this guy how come this gentleman bent over with osteoporosis and muscle wasting, how come he can't go anywhere in the United States to get taken care of? And you can see he was in pain. So I started writing down the muscle wasting program. I think I wrote it up in about 5 minutes. Trent Duncan, my audio guy, a video guy who does wonderful work, I think he takes what's in my head and puts it in an understandable format, because, you know, me being dyslexic and ADD, I don't always reach the right folks. I think I damaged my brain being a paramedic back in the day, who knows. But the muscle wasting is very important. So what we can learn from the ketogenic movement is, you know, hormones play a role. Fat distribution is genetically determined, hormonally regulated. We know estrogen puts fat on different parts of the body. We know insulin puts fat on different parts of the body. We know growth hormone deficiencies put fat on different part of the body. And in 1996, the FDA approved growth hormone to be, you know, given to people with growth hormone deficiencies. One of my expertise is how growth hormone helps the body resonate. And basically, people have lost weight using growth hormone on the standard American diet, you know, elevating their insulin levels, because growth hormone helps elevate something called hormone-sensitive lipase. It also impacts every tissue of the body. And a lot of my research is on adults with growth hormone deficiency, children with growth hormone deficiency, and how do we remedy that? So, you know, the multifactorial approach that I try to help the keto gurus with out there is that hormones play a role, your intestinal bacteria, you know, play a role in fat distribution. The estrogens in the environment may cause somebody to stall, because any chemical you rub on your skin can elevate estrogen levels. They're called xenoestrogens. So when we have patients, I got about 3 doctors in town here that use my program. I send my clients to. If they're in a stall on the ketogenic diet, it's usually hormonal related. It's usually they may be estrogen dominant. And again, not everybody, folks. I just want to put another tool in your toolbox. Think about estrogen dominance when somebody stalls. Many of the people that come to these Facebook pages that want help, you know, we're dropped into the second act of a third act play, you know, so we got to understand everybody's biochemically unique. So all of us out there that are still learning in this evolving learning process, we want to think about when we're talking to somebody, do they have low thyroid? Are they going through, or do they have elevated cortisol from an extreme stress environment? You know, did they go through a divorce? Did they lose a job? All these things will impact fat on the cellular level. It will leave, you know, people that have elevated cortisol, you know, it'll shut off fat burning like a clock, because we know that elevated cortisol from physical, mental, and emotional stress lowers estrogen, lowers testosterone, lowers growth hormone. So a lot of the outliers that I deal with, war veterans, EMS personnel, executives that can't get off a couch, some of the celebrities we work with, they basically suppressed every hormone in their body, and they're just not thinking right. Because when you suppress your hormonal levels, your feel-good chemicals in your brain, serotonin and dopamine, go down, and your body starts to break down. This is biology, but what happens is when you go to a doctor, he'll give you an SSRI, which we know, you know, is important. And sometimes, I'm not shooting down antidepressants, I think they could be a bridge. But if you have physiological damage and you're trying to lose weight, and you go on the ketogenic diet too quickly, you may lower the feel-good chemicals even more. So what we want to do is take a page out of the book Potatoes Not Prozac, and understand that sometimes the carbohydrates can help elevate somebody's neurotransmitters in their brain. So I know some keto gurus out there are really stead hard and fast, and I get it. You know, I know you guys are trying to help, but understand when somebody comes in looking for help, think about being dropped into the second act of a third act play. You know, you want to get them help. If you put them on the diet too quickly, you may lower their feel-good chemicals in their brain even more. So, you know, these are, you know, I hope I'm coming across, you know, and I'm making sense. Everybody's biochemically unique. There's an amazing transformation going on right now in medicine. People like us are ringing the bell on the power of communities and how we could better help people. And I just recently had a book published on Amazon called American Biohacker. I went through a pretty rough time, and you know, I wanted to get the word out there. Basically, if you read this book, here it is, American Biohacker. If you read this book and see my history, it just helps me avoid going through interviews with every doctor that I meet. It's like they always go, how do you know this? Where's your research? So I'm like, so over that. So I use the book. If you read this book, you can understand my evolution in medicine and why we could take care of, in Winter Park, high-level brain injury patients, CTE, post-traumatic stress. You know, it's a multifactorial approach, and that's sort of why I wrote the book, just to get the word out there, because I'm all over helping people with this movement. I'm all over educating people. I've got doctors on this program, folks. I don't need my name in lights. I could care about that. I'd rather be in the background and clone myself through you rebels out there that are changing medicine in real time. So I hope, you know, I hope that I came across today and I didn't lose anybody, because it's really important for this community. And I want to mention my website called Scala Precision Health and the Russ Scala YouTube channel. I just put a bunch of information up. I just put a lot of information up on the Russ Scala YouTube channel at no charge. I just want people to watch it and share it, because a lot of those YouTube videos that I got on the Russ Scala YouTube channel, I think that can give people that aha moment. When I was in my master's program in graduate school, I always studied how do I transfer learning to behavior. And I always noticed everybody remembered a good joke instead of remembering numbers. So our brains are hardwired for stories. So remember, folks, remember to subscribe to Adapt Your Life. These guys are doing amazing work out there, and we're all in this together. I don't think anybody knows everything, but our collective conscious, you know, can really turn the medical system around. So I hope you enjoyed this, and see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.